Professor Goetzmann, Professor Ibbotson, thank you for hosting me here today at Yale. This is a gorgeous campus, and I guess it's the fall season, so is this the better time to be here?
It's a great time, yes.
Great. So, part of a lot of what I do is basically give guidance to individual investors as they're preparing for retirement, essentially. Of all of your research that you've done in investments and securities and so forth, what advice would you give if you were in my shoes based on your years of study to someone?
Well, I'll start out with saying that all my life I've studied stock and bond markets, and equities do much better than bonds long term. So for most of the people, I'd encourage them to be a part of the equity market. And of course, that's had tremendous returns over the long term. 10% basically, 10% per year really builds up and accumulates to large numbers. But a lot of your clients, I imagine, a lot of the people you talk to really are approaching retirement. And this is a time when I would not encourage you to go on all equities anymore, because this is the time when you actually do need to take less risk. Because if you get a financial hit in your portfolio in these early years of retirement, or it can affect your whole retirement afterwards. So this is the time you actually need to reduce your risk. And we would traditionally do that by buying bonds. But I think we've seen lately that bonds are not a low-risk asset necessarily.
Certainly. Absolutely.
So you need some substitutes, basically, for that.
Certainly. And as things have evolved, with investments and so forth, is there any asset class as it's kind of, evolved that you see now as being more attractive? I know, Professor Goetzmann, you've done a lot of research with alternative investments, private equity, hedge funds, and things like that. Are those things that individual investors might consider?
Oh, I'd be very careful as an individual investor in getting into, let's call it private capital investments without some intermediation, whether it is buying into a fund that's diversified by a reputable general partner, or by an advisor that has a lot of experience as well. It's easy for people to say, oh, private equity does well or venture capital does well. But it's unlikely that the best of those managers is going to be taking small bits of money or from individuals. So those are sophisticated investments that require a sophisticated approach. Okay, so that said, even with the whole market landscape now has a vast number of investment opportunities for individual investors that didn't exist 30 years ago.
Sure.
So you can build a portfolio with all sorts of exposures or hedges against things like inflation in a way that you might not have been able to do as you go, that your parents or grandparents might have been had access to. So we know inflation, a useful hedge against inflation is exposure to real estate. Doesn't always work, but historically it has. We also know that commodity exposure actually is a decent hedge against inflation. But people are thinking about not just macroeconomic shocks, they're thinking about their own lifespan.
Certainly.
And so hedging against, let's call it longevity risk, is really something that your clients probably think a lot about. I don't want to outlive my wealth. How am I going to do that? And that requires some, again, financial engineering, I want to call it that, but you can structure payoffs that last just for your lifetime. I mean, Social Security itself is such a thing. It's just that we only can get so much of it.
Absolutely.
Right? But something like that is very appealing, which lasts your lifetime and provides some modicum of security.
Sure. You kind of make a great point. I think a lot of us, as we're working and accumulating and putting money away, we're kind of focused on that job at hand. We're not necessarily staring at those statements every month. When we get to that point to where we need to decumulate or harvest some of those dollars, from what you've seen, does it change the investment landscape, things that we should consider? I mean, distribution economics, is that a little bit of a different animal in your all's opinions?
It's definitely different. I think that you have to really change over your life cycle how you invest. When you're young, go in all equities as much as possible. Go in, at least take equity type positions and be willing to take a lot of risk. But in these critical years, in early retirement, you need to take less risk. And actually, that's where insurance products really matter here, because they're insuring the things that you are concerned about.
Certainly.
Whether you're insuring longevity risk or whether you're insuring drops in the market. There are all kinds of these annuity type insurance products that actually protect your portfolios in different ways. They're actually designed to meet the specific needs of different people, basically. So products that are not just they're specifically supplied, basically, to actually because there is a need for that.
Certainly. So some of the insurance products can, not only kind of help temper some of the longevity risk, but we can potentially get attractive returns that we frankly have not seen from fixed income investments for quite some time. Of course, inflation's higher, so rates are a little bit higher. Do you see things like, indexing inside of annuities? Do you see that as an attractive alternative for someone considering retirement?
Yes, I do, because first of all, there may be some equity participation in different ways, but you're insuring. These are products that insure the downside, and insuring the downside is not something you really get in a bond product, because you do get the downside in bonds.
Absolutely. Excellent.
Yeah, I think when you say attractive, I think that's a good way of talking about it, because what's attractive to one person might be different than what's attractive to another person. It's not like everybody decides, I want to invest in something that's going to beat the stock market every year.
Sure.
That's not what people's goals might be. Their goals are going to be, I want to be able to make sure I have a comfortable basis for living and also something to pass on to my children. And that's where the advisory role comes in, translating the stock, the statistical information and the historical evidence about stocks and bonds and all these other things into some plan that is about people's lives.
Certainly. Absolutely. Gentlemen, thank you so much for your time today, and it's been a pleasure. Thank you.
Great to see you, yes.
Yeah,
Awesome.
appreciate it.
Thank you.